everyone, it's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Vlogmas video. So today I'm going to talk about books that I have gotten recently, and by recently I think some of these came out quite a few months ago, but I've been on a book buying ban, so I've been kind of collecting them until I had enough to make a video. So let's just jump in. So the first book I got is the 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Haro. And this follows the story of January, and she is a ward of Mr. Locke. While she is living with him, she discovers this book that carries the scent of other worlds and contains secrets. And as she delves more and more into this book, she discovers that the story in here is becoming increasingly more entwined with her own story, and things go from there. This is the Book of the Month edition. I got this from Book of the Month YA, and I actually sprayed the edges myself, which is my first time. They look okay. But I thought this was such an interesting concept, and the cover is just gorgeous. Gorgeous. The next book I got is The Beautiful by Renee Audier. Again, this is another Book of the Month book, and this came out in October. I really don't know too much about this except that it is set, I think, in 18th century New Orleans, and it's got vampires. And I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about this book, and normally I'm not a big fan of vampire stories. I think for my personal taste it's kind of been outdone, but I've heard a lot of people that I follow that I like the same kind of books they do have liked this book, and other ones have not liked this book, so I'm interested to see what I think of it. But I do love the cover. I think it's beautiful. Next book I got is The Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Ribe, and I think this came out in June. This is another Book of the Month book, and this follows the story of Jay, and he is getting ready to go to college, and he finds out that his cousin Juan has been murdered. So no one in his family wants to talk about this or address it, so Jay decides to travel to the Philippines to find out the real story. And once there, as he starts finding out more and more about his cousin, he learns that Juan might not have been the person he thought he was, and that there's so many factors to his life, and he just has to learn how to process that and move on. And I think I found out about this book because Saba Tahir was talking about it in a positive way, and it sounded so interesting. And I don't think I've read a book set in the Philippines before, which also grabbed my attention. And I love the cover, and I just think this will be a really cool, unique read. I feel like I have a theme going. Another Book of the Month book. This is The Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White, and I won't go into this because I have already read this, and I have a spoiler-free book review that I'll link. But I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's kind of a gender-bent, unique twist on the Arthurian legend of Camelot, and I thought it was a really cool idea and a really good execution. This is the last Book of the Month book. This is The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. This is a YA historical fiction novel, and again, I have a spoiler-free review. I've already read this, and I absolutely loved it. It's set in Spain during the reign of General Francisco Franco and his kind of oppression of the people there. And this story follows multiple characters and their perspectives, and I just loved the atmosphere in this book and the writing style. And Ruta Sepetys always has a way of breaking your heart but leaving you feeling hopeful, so I think you should definitely check this book out. Next, I got Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the first book in the Dreamer trilogy. And first things first, this follows the story of one of the characters in the Raven Cycle. So technically you don't have to read the Raven Cycle before you read this, but I think if you do that, if you go back to read The Raven Cycle, a lot of things will be spoiled. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about picking this up before that series. And I can't really talk about what this is about because it spoils the Raven Cycle books. But this follows one of my absolute favorite characters in the book, and basically he can take things out of dreams, and it goes from there. And I love Maggie Stiefvater's writing style. It does take a little bit of getting used to because it's very atmospheric, and her books are very character driven, and she has such a unique way of phrasing things and setting up the scene and the world. But once you start getting into it, it gets a lot more accessible, and her stories are always phenomenal. The next book is another one of my most anticipated releases of this year, and that is The Girl the Sea Gave Back by Adrienne Young. This is a, I believe, companion novel to Sky in the Deep, and I just love this cover. I just love anything to do with the sea, and I just think this is stunning. You can't really see it, but there's glittery stuff on here, and I really don't know too much about this book other than it's based in Viking lore, and it has a girl with magical foresight and a warrior that has to test his skills in battle, and I just think it sounds so cool. And the reviews I've heard have been fairly positive, and I've heard that her writing style is just phenomenal and beautiful and lyrical without being overly flowery, and I've heard that her character development is really good. So I'm definitely excited to check this one out. The next book is There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rosepool. I really don't know anything about this book. This was an impulse buy because I was watching Madison Mary from Princess of Paperback, and she had a reading vlog where she read this and was just so into it and so intense that I was like, oh my gosh, I have to read this. And I really don't know that much about it, but it has won some awards. It's been nominated for a ton of awards this year, and I have heard nothing but good things. And I love the cover. I think it has prophets in it, or a prophecy, and kind of like a Grimm story, I believe. But I just think it sounded so cool. I love the black and red and white theme on it. And Kirsten White, Laura Sebastian, Julie C. Dow, and Sarah Holland all wrote blurbs for this to praise it. And I just think it'll be really good. And last, but certainly not least, I have kind of been trying to get more into adult fantasy. I really just started getting into fantasy books a couple years ago when I had a YA lit class, and I discovered that I actually really love fantasy books. And one of my friends saw that I read Skyward and loved it, and he suggested that I get this book, and that is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. This is the Final Empire, and I absolutely adore it so far. I'm about 200 pages in, and it basically follows these people who have metal magic, or I think they're called allomancers. So certain metals allow them to have certain powers. Honestly, I went into this kind of blind because I wanted to keep an open mind, but they basically have a quest or a goal that they are moving toward, and this girl Vin turns out to be a Mistborn, and she gets wrapped up with these characters that are organizing this quest. And I'm really giving it kind of a crappy synopsis, but it's kind of hard to explain. But I absolutely adore Sanderson's writing. This is the one that I was most excited to read on this list, and I think I'll definitely be doing a review. But Sanderson, I think, is going to be one of those auto-buy authors now, because I've just loved everything that I've read by him, and I haven't even finished this yet. But have you read any of these books? If so, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. Or which book do you think I need to pick up next and possibly review? But as always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.